Okay, so breaking news. This just came down to Newswire. Actually, this came down a day and a half ago. I think I read this article on Awful Announcing's website. Correct me if I'm wrong, but AP is reporting Fox Sports 1 is going to start the fall with two new shows going to be introduced on Fox Sports 1. One is called The Breakfast Ball or The Breakfast Bale. I could be wrong with the title. And the other show is going to be called The Faculty. All right. So let's just talk about what's not going to be on Fox Sports 1 before we talk about these two new shows. What's not going to be returning to Fox Sports 1 is the Carson show. And if you've been following my channel, if you have subscribed to my channel, ever since they announced the Carson show, I was not a big fan of the Carson show. I thought this show was dead on arrival. And to be fair, I didn't give Speak much chance either. Ever since with the new name change and the new announcers over there. Now, I was wrong with Speak, but I was spot on with the Carson show. So, and Undisputed. Now, Undisputed last official show ended with Skip Bayless leaving the show. And then Fox Sports 1 pretty much did a cloak and dagger type thing. First, before they even announced Skip Bayless was departing from Undisputed, which if you've been living under a rock, that news could not be kept a secret. And they maintained that they was going to continue with Undisputed in tongue-in-cheek. And ever since Skip Bayless left and announced it on social media, Fox Sports 1 released another statement saying that they are not going to have Undisputed in their fall lineup. So the Carson show and Undisputed is no more. All right. So let's talk about these two new shows, shall we? Now, Breakfast Ball, little was described about this show. I don't know who's going to be hosting this show. They may have a combination of a bunch of different hosts. And it might be bits and pieces of what's going on in the Fox Sports 1 universe. That could be, the multiverse. That could be a possibility with the Breakfast Ball or Breakfast Bale, whatever you want to call it. And as far as Carson, he's going to be on Fox Sports. I don't know what they're going to do with the rest of the cast of the Carson show. But that's what the Breakfast Bell, it's not a lot to talk about other than it's a 2-hour show and it starts off the Fox Sports 1 lineup. All right. And then after that, Emmanuel Acho and Shady McCoy, and there's two other guys. I forgot the receiver they used to play for the Green Bay Packers. I forgot his name. I'm sorry, dude. But anyway, a bunch of football heads are going to be on the Faculty. Now, I'm about to go, the departed. I'm about to go full Boston accent, okay? The departed, okay? Anywho, the Faculty is supposed to be this morning show. I think it's going to be football related type show. And it's going to have those guys on that program. They didn't say if this is going to be a football-centric show, but by reading who's going to be on the show, I don't see how this could not be just a football-laced type of show. And then news came out yesterday, that with Speak, Joy Taylor's still going to be hosting that show. Paul Pierce is going to be hosting that show. And word around the campfire is suggesting that Keyshawn Johnson is also going to be on this show as well. I don't know if Shady McCoy is going to continue with Speak. Now, when I read the article, it sounded yesterday that it sounded like Shady McCoy is still there. But, maybe Fox Sports 1 is trying to figure out how to, with this musical chair thing that they're going to do, who's going to be where and who's going to be doing what. But anywho, that's the new fall lineup. To me, I got a lot to say about it. To me, I just think the breakfast bell, the breakfast ball, that's going to start at 8 in the morning. It's supposed to be I think it's supposed to be a 2-hour show. I'm not 1,000% sure. I think that's dead on arrival. I just think that's just a filler until they can find, or until they can, until they figure out what they're going to do with the morning. I think the morning has been the weakest part of the Fox Sports 1 lineup. All right. Ever since they moved Speak for Yourself into the afternoon, they clearly haven't found a show that can equal or surpass Speak for Yourself in the morning. Now, when Speak for Yourself, the early days of Speak for Yourself with Chris Carter and Nick Wright, that was a good show. That was a good, solid show. And quiet as kept, I would watch that show, and it will introduce me into Skip and Shannon's Undisputed. And I thought that was a good 1-2 punch. And then on top of that, you had the Herd with Colin Cowherd. I had mixed feelings about the Herd show. And then Speak for Yourself, that was, now it's called Speak. You had Jason Whitlock, and you had Emmanuel Acho. You had Jason Whitlock, and Marcellus Wiley. Colin Cowherd would sometimes join that show as well, and that was a decent. That's their best lineup. That's their number one, numero uno lineup. And ever since they have been playing these musical chairs, it's just been getting just below average or just mediocre average. All right. So they clearly haven't found nothing that's going to surpass or equal the success that Speak for Yourself, that First Things First had in the morning. And I still think they're trying to figure out the perfect show. And I really think low key, this is a fill-in show. The breakfast ball or the breakfast bell, whatever you want to call it. I just think that's just a fill-in show until they get some until maybe Max Kellerman come out from under the ESPN contract. He becomes a free agent. Then they can give him a show. On the outside looking in, I don't see it happening, but on the outside looking in, maybe Skip Bayless. Not Skip Bayless. Shannon Sharpe is not happy with ESPN. He wants to go back to Fox Sports 1. That's a possibility if they want to buy Shannon Sharpe out of his contract at ESPN, or if Shannon Sharpe want to buy himself out of, that's a possibility. Stephen A. Smith, even though he's signing this big deal, maybe there's trouble in paradise later on down the road. Some big top sports personality is not filling their contract or not filling their situation. Maybe Charles Barkley, even though he's going to honor his contract with Turner, he still got language in his contract that he can get out from under that. What about Kenny Smith? Or Shaquille O'Neal. So I think they're going to keep that spot open for something better down the road. That's what I'm thinking. Now the faculty, it's like Speak. It's just it's like Speak in the morning. Instead of in the afternoon, you get to watch it in the morning. I think this is pretty decent in football season. When football season starts, it's okay. That's cool. But when football season is over with, what they're going to be talking about, okay? So I think this is like a temporary stopgap for the football season. And maybe when everyone gets serious about the basketball season, they'll have a show for the basketball fans, okay? But the faculty, I'm just not feeling it. And who knows? Maybe these shows are just filling gaps until they can land a prime time superstar or, sports personality. Here's, Max Kellerman, Jalen Rose. Here's a name no one never talks about. Brandon Marshall. Now, I've heard that Brandon Marshall is, as far as I Am Athlete, is not doing so well. So, maybe that's on the possibility list. I don't know. But I'm not too happy with these two new shows. I think the faculty is probably going to be a little bit better than the Carson show. I don't know what the Breakfast Ball or the Breakfast Bell, what that show is ultimately going to be. But I think it's going to be a tiny bit better than the Carson show. But yeah, now as far as Speak and the musical chairs, now it's pretty much going to be Joy Taylor's the only one's going to remain. And now you got Paul Pierce and the possibility of Keyshawn Johnson. And I'm not with Emmanuel Acho, I'm sort of I can stomach Emmanuel Acho, but sometimes he tries to be the smartest person in the room, and he's clearly not. He tries to overthink a lot of topics, but if you can get past all that, he's a pretty decent sports personality. He wasn't the reason why I watched Speak or didn't watch Speak. Joy Taylor is eye candy for 5 minutes, and then you want to get into the show at hand. I think adding Paul Pierce is a different dimension that they never had on Speak. I think Paul Pierce will challenge Joy Taylor. I think Paul Pierce will challenge Shady McCoy. I think Paul Pierce will, if Keyshawn Johnson, word around campfire is they're going to have Keyshawn Johnson on this show, he will challenge Keyshawn Johnson. A lot of people want to say the reason why Undisputed failed was, one of the reasons, the biggest reason is they didn't have Shannon Sharp. But what made it even worse than that, Keyshawn Johnson had some ridiculous takes on Undisputed, and Skip Bayless was passive aggressive on it. He wanted to, tackle it head on, but he just didn't want another fiasco like he had with Shannon Sharp. So he was, you could clearly tell in his face he wanted to challenge Keyshawn Johnson's arguments, but he just let Keyshawn Johnson be Keyshawn Johnson. I don't think that's going to happen for him on Speak. I think, they was handling Keyshawn Johnson with kid gloves over there at Undisputed. I think the gloves are going to come off when he goes to Speak. I think Paul Pierce is really going to get in. He's, okay, all in the yams, pause. But I think Paul Pierce is going to challenge him. Definitely Joy Taylor is going to challenge him. And that's going to be a solid show. Now, if you look at this lineup, I don't think this lineup is anything better than their older lineup that we just mentioned earlier in this video. Nothing's going to top that lineup. But I think this lineup is better than when the Carson show was introduced, when Speak for Yourself shortened its name to Speak. And you still got First Things First. But I feel like First Things First should have stayed on in the morning, because you're starting off the day with First Things First, and then Undisputed, and then the Herd show. Now you get rid of Undisputed. You have to have a prime time show that's going to fit that time slot. Speak for Yourself, if it was still in the morning time, would have easily filled that time spot, and they would have gotten some views, some mad views, and a loyal fan base. So yeah, that's all I got for this video, guys. Tell me what you think. Comment in the comment section. I will see you guys in the next video. Deuces.